Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the library live stream from home. We are here, me and Alex. Hey, look at that. We've got
Hello there.
liftoff. Hi, Alex. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Tim.
Excellent. So I'm working on two monitors, and it's all very exciting. This is the best thing ever, isn't it? A library that's live streaming onto YouTube. It does not get better than this. I'm gonna have to remember that my camera is right there. I will forget that all the time. And yeah, this is a test stream. This isn't the full, proper, full fat experience because, frankly, we haven't got a studio, and we are literally streaming from our little cupboards that we call bedroom, study, or anything else. So you can see behind me, I've got my wonderful painting. That's a print from Mr. Lowry, L.S. Lowry. Everybody knows L.S. Lowry except for Alexander Wood. And behind Alex, you can see lots of library books that he has repurposed for himself so that no other student in the university can get them. Alex, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello there. I'm Alex from the skills team at the University of Derby Library. I basically help make content like this. I'm currently a student. I'm studying master's level, but I part time whilst I work at the university full time. And I'll be helping Tim with the live stream today and covering some of the topics.
Yeah, excellent. So, for those of you who do not know me, I am Dr. Tim Zelstra. I am the Library Experience and Skills Manager. I look after quite a chunky bit of the university library, and one of those lovely chunky bits is the skills service that we have in the library and that we are delivering to our students. And part of the service is that we try and reach you in new and innovative ways. And obviously, using YouTube is considered new and innovative because YouTube has only existed for 14 years, nearly 15. So we consider ourselves pretty much bang up front in the troop of libraries juggling for your social media attention. So this live stream is the first one that we're running in the new academic year, 2020-2021. I still can't get my head around saying that properly. And basically, we're just testing it out. So we know that there's a few people watching, which is always nice. We have a chat function underneath this stream, and you'll be able to tell us what you would like us to talk about. But we have got a bit of a program set up as well. So we're going to cover a number of topics today that we hope will help you to study at university. And yeah, a lot of this, Alex, has come from our workshop last week, hasn't it? Do you want to touch on that a bit?
So as a skills team, we run regular workshops. Around about one every week, as well as this regular live stream that we're starting off this week. And last week we did a great workshop with I think it was about 70 people in attendance called Introduction to the Key Skills. In this workshop, we discussed what the key skills were, and that's part of what this actual live stream is about discussing and introducing you to the key skills that we're actually studying whilst at university. So Tim is going to go through some of the key skills and say about why they're important, and I'm going to help him out with that a little bit. But we're also going to talk about some skills, for example, that you may not know about and that are actually really important that you might not think are important at the start of your university journey. We're going to talk about what Tim, and some students on social media think that they would like to have covered or they would like to have known when they started university. We're going to show you some resources that we've got that can help you with developing those skills, and also going to talk about some grammar and ways of improving your grammar whilst at university. But if you have any questions about the live stream, feel free to ask them in the chat, and we'll answer them as soon as we can. Um, but yeah, so Tim, we're now going to move on to the section your skills. So, would you like to introduce this section?
Would I like to introduce this section? Yes, but I first have to find the actual plan because, of course, I've closed it on the other computer. So I'm just opening that up again. See, this is why we do test live streams, isn't it? So, your skills is a section where we basically talk about things that have been asked of us in the past week. So, this is a recurring section that we will do every week on the live stream, and we will be talking about different questions, different things that people have asked of us, and yeah, we'll take a number of things that we've heard about this week. So we are going to begin. I think are we talking about independent learning first, Alex? Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about some of the key skills that there are, and we're going to outline each one of them because that is the topic of the week, realistically.
Yeah.
is everyone starting university. So, what are the key skills that you need to be developing throughout your university journey? Whether that journey is whether you're already in that journey and it's part of a semester, or whether you're just starting out. And one of those key skills is independent learning. So, Tim, why is independent learning something that's important for students to learn, and what is it as well? Just briefly.
So the I think the key to independent learning is understanding your learning habits and the way that you actually learn. So we've moved on a bit, talking about learning styles and all that. That used to be very trendy about 5 years ago. But actually, we're talking a bit more about the ergonomics of learning and about the things that we do to be effective learners, if you like. So independent learning is, especially these times, is quite relevant. It's about being able to understand your own learning process and actually finding ways to be more successful in your learning as well. So it's about adopting strategies, if you like, or even tactics to improve your learning ability. And that's really important. So independent learning is basically about the way that you learn and how you deal with that and how you reflect on your learning, how you cope with that. Yeah, so I could talk about that for quite some time, but we're just touching on them very briefly. So then I see, Alex, that there's something about academic writing.
Yes. So, as well as independent learning and learning to basically learn on your own in your own study space and be effective in that, another key skill at university to learn is academic writing, learning how to write at an academic level, learning how to write at different levels and to different audiences, and to really develop writing skills. Each of these topics that we've got resources already available on the internet, on our skills guide, and we'll go through at the end of this live stream where you can access all those resources. But academic writing is a really, really crucial thing because at university you will need to write at the right level. And so learning to do that and reflecting on your practices to become better at that is really, really important. And there's a lot of ways that you can improve at your academic writing whilst at the university. For example, I'm running a workshop on it. I think it's next week, next Tuesday. I think it's the 6th. I'm running a workshop on it. And we have lots of resources available for academic, developing those academic writing skills on YouTube and our skills guides and so on.
It's one of those things that people always worry about, isn't it, when they start university, making those jumps in their academic writing. So we try and help out with that.
Mm, exactly.
Yeah.
The next one that we've got on our list is reading, Tim. So why is reading important?
Well, reading is the gateway to becoming a better writer, first off. So the more you read, the better your writing becomes. And of course, it's the gateway to all that knowledge that we are trying to instill in you as a university student. So, a librarian like me would always say that reading is the most important skill that you can have at university. And actually, there's a lot of science backing that up as well. So, reading has changed a lot. You don't necessarily need to read a book anymore, or even a journal or things like that. You can read in different ways and formats. But the key to reading is to understand that you're doing it to learn something, and that sounds really obvious. Everybody thinks like knows that reading gives you new knowledge, but the most important thing is that you actually read on purpose and purposefully. So some of the things that I always talk about is I get questions mainly from first year students about, do I need to read the whole book or the whole chapter? Well, no, you need to read the things that you find important. Well, how do I know what is important? Well, you start reading and you start exploring and you make sense of the topic, and as you do that you will understand what's important. So that it's part of that independent learning as well, but it's something that you will grow in and that you will become better at. And reading is genuinely a really, really important skill for university. So try and read as much as you can. The more you read, the better you will become at being a student. It might not help you in the nightlife or anything like that, but yeah, no, reading is still really important. So make sure you do it.
I would agree, Tim. You've actually talked about the student advice later. You stolen one of the pieces of student advice that one of the students give, which I'll touch on later when we talk about what advice students we give for their first year students. Um, yes, so the next skill that is really crucial to develop is your abilities to use online digital programs this year more than ever. Now that a lot of students are studying from home and there's blended learning as well, learning to develop your skills in Microsoft Office and also digital skills are really, really important. And the university has put some resources into helping you develop those skills. I will be running a workshop on Microsoft Word later in the year, and we have things on our YouTube channel, our skills guides about developing these skills. But learning to be more efficient, learning to know what the tools are, and learning how to meet requirements by just using the tools that you have are really important. And for some people who've been out of education, or some people who just haven't happened to use these tools yet, developing the basic understanding of Microsoft Office is really important for university, and it's something that you will find yourself improving as you go along.
Yeah, absolutely. And then linked to what I've talked about before and what Alex talked about with academic writing is the art, if you like, of reflective writing, reflective practice. Really important part again of being a student is being able to be critical of yourself in a sort of useful and constructive manner. So I'm not talking about rolling around in bed at night worrying about whether you've got a 60 or a 70 on your exam. I'm talking about actually thinking about, if I'd done this and that, would I have managed to get a better grade or a better topic? And if I want to, improve my standing within my future profession, for example, what could I do there? So reflection is a really important part of being a student. A lot of our students, especially on the professional programs, are increasingly using something called PebblePad, for example. And reflective writing will give you a bit of ability, if you like, to cope with feedback and to be honest with yourself and actually feeding back to yourself as well. Learning how to do that is really important. It'll help you to look at being a student in a different lens, and that is really powerful. So then we've got, I think, resilience, Alex. You're making changes to the script as we go along. You're sneaky, because I thought I was prepared here.
Yeah, speaking about reflection, part of reflection is about being honest with yourself and taking the feedback that you've got positively and using it to actually and positively improve yourself. So resilience is a really, really important skill to develop. What resilience actually means is basically your ability to overcome difficulties that you face. And university, especially if you're studying at undergraduate level or even at PhD level, it's quite a long process and things do come up. I don't know anyone who's gone through the entire 3 year period without any minor inconvenience happening, or something that has been life changing happening to them. Happens quite often to a lot of students, and so you need to be able to deal with those as and when they come. And so learning to be resilient and keep on going and being positive and getting yourself back up when you fall down can be really important. Learning to be resilient when you make mistakes and when you might not do as well as you want to. That is really important for reflection, because you've got to stay strong. You've got to think, actually, how can I improve? But ultimately, resilience is one of the key skills and something that you will need to develop at university for later life when you're working full time in a job somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the final skill, Tim, that we've got written down is thinking critically, which is a really, really important skill for university.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in my first year, I didn't actually apprehend how important it was. So do you want to talk about why that's important?
Well, my favourite anecdote about this, and I always use this, so you might have heard it before, is if you think critically, we all think critically, I think there's a bit of a mystery around critical analysis and what does it mean to be critical. The simple fact that when you go to a shop, even if it is to buy a loaf of bread, is that you are engaging your critical faculty to actually make a decision. And one of the things that I always talk about is that it's a very primal thing that we do anyway. So let's imagine that we're cavemen and we're wanting to hunt a mammoth, and we don't actually have the language to express ourselves. Which key words that we would use now would be really relevant in that situation? And actually, there's a lot of linguistic science that these words were the first words that were becoming used as a language. So language originated with being able to say your name, because a name is useful, and it originated with being able to explain your needs to a certain degree. And when you think about needs and you think about hunting a mammoth as a bunch of cavemen, let's say there's 8 of you and you need to have a hunt, you're talking about what are we hunting, so what, who is coming to hunt, so is the guy with the broken leg coming or are we leaving him behind, where is the mammoth, which is rather relevant, when are we going to hunt it, are we going to hunt it in daylight, are we going to hunt it at night, no, sorry, that was when, and then where is the mammoth? I'm missing one. I've skipped one somehow. How are we going to hunt it? So are we going to throw sticks at it, or are we actually going to come up with a cunning plan to drive it down a hill or something like that? So all those questions, and why as well. Why are we hunting it? We need to get food. Those 6 W's, as they're known, are really, really important in critical thinking, and that skill is something that you will develop during your university time, but it's also something that you already do on a regular basis. And by becoming more reflective and more resilient and thinking more about how you learn, you will become better at critical thinking. And I have first-hand experienced that journey, and it's actually really interesting. And you just need to see it as a bit of a challenge that you are ready to pick up.
I agree. Speaking about what I've learned at university, is like actually with critical analysis at university, you do learn to start questioning almost everything and not treating anything for granted. Always ask the questions about anything that you see, and that will make you far better in life and also help you with any job or any role or anything in general. Being critical happens everyday life. Every decision you ever make has some element of criticality to it, and being critical is just so important. And
Yeah,
it's why it's recognized as one of the big things that you need to do in your writing to get the higher grades.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
we're now going to move on slightly to a section called which we're calling today. What advice would we give to our former self? So, Tim, when you start university, what advice would you give to your former self in order to improve?
You know what's coming, Alex. I'm not going to do it though. um, so I started university 3 times. Let's be pretty clear about that. Actually, I started university 5 times. So the first time I went to do a degree was in the Netherlands when I got out of secondary school, and I wanted to do international business school, and I failed miserably at it. And if I think about that particular time, what I would have done different, I wasn't mature enough in my mind, I think, to cope with what was expected of me. So I thought it was far more interesting to be, going out and being a frivolous student and doing the fun things. Don't get me wrong, those things are still really important. You do need to do that, but you need to get the balance right. So planning your time effectively and actually committing to your study is something that I really would take away from that first study that I did when I was 18. I failed miserably. I got kicked off the course and then ended up doing information technology for a bit at a college rather than a university. And there I learned that actually, if you don't challenge yourself, you're not going to enjoy studying. So one of the things that I had an issue with there was that I already knew quite a lot of the stuff that we were discussing. I dropped down a level and it didn't work out for me at all. And actually, that stopped me being motivated. I stopped going, and that was a major issue as well. So do challenge yourself and make sure that you set yourself a realistic target. And then the third undergrad degree that I started, and actually this time I finished, which I'm very pleased about. The main thing I take away from that is that you have lecturers, teachers that are there that will really try and help you if you understand that that is what they're there for. So even though you might have favorites and people you like and don't like, they're all there with the purpose of making you succeed, and you need to keep that in mind. And I think that's really important for all students to remember that a lecturer is never going out of their way to try and trip you up. They are asking the questions for a reason. They are asking you to do like live presenting and things like that for a reason. There is there is a reason that you are doing these things. You have to engage with that. So those are the first 3. I don't know how long I've got, Alex, but I'm going to touch on the masters and PhD as well. If that's right.
I think that's a lot currently, anyways. But I think that's really important. The last point that you just raised.
Yeah.
No lecturer ever wants you to fail. They always want you to do as good as you can do, and they want to help you in any way that they can do with that. And learning that is really important. They don't want to trip you off. They want you to do the best you can.
Yeah.
Um, my advice for myself of what I would do, what I would advise myself, is actually to try and develop as many skills as I could whilst at university. I found in my first year that I just focused purely on knowing the course and learning the knowledge of the course. And that's really important because it helped me pass my exams. But actually, learning the knowledge is only secondary to actually developing the skills to learn the knowledge, which I think is more important. learning how to learn is what I think is the most important thing at university, and something that I wish I would have told myself in the past. Because the knowledge that you learn changes, it becomes outdated, especially in the area which I studied, which it goes out of date all the time. But learning how to teach myself independently and learn and go about that process of learning new information, I think that's one of the key things. But also, university is all about developing skills and outcomes. The key outcome that employers will be looking for is not your specific knowledge that you've learned, but the skills that you've learned, and including learning how to research and teach yourself is a key skill, but also the resilience that you gain at university, the critical thinking, the ability to write for a purpose persuasively. All those skills are really important and will carry across a lot of disciplines. So for me, I would have advised myself that actually it's all about getting the outcomes and trying to find any way that I could whilst at university to go about improving my skills and therefore what I come out of university with.
You made the step up to doing a master's, Alex. So can you talk about that a bit? Is that a significant step, or?
Yeah, it's a completely different way of learning. My master's isn't as typical as normal. It's not a research focused master's. Almost it's a practical course for a professional course, as well as a master's. But there is a lot more reading to do. But having done work in the past in making myself better at reading, that's a bit easier. And having developed the skills on my undergraduate level early on and focused on trying to develop them, I think that helped as well. Um, I think if I would advise myself for this particular course, it was to try and make sure I keep myself organized at all times as much as I could, because this course you get given a lot of information very, very quickly, and making sure you're good at organized and you keep revising it as you go along, I think was really crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, shall we do a bit of an activity?
I've gone and actually, just before we get onto an activity, I've gone and asked students on social media for their
Oh, right, yes, I forgot about
for
that.
what they think they would have advised themselves. So if you want to get involved in this in the future, we tweet out and also send Instagram posts out before our live streams, and we collect information. So if you ever want yourself featured in the live stream, then please comment on either our Instagram posts or Instagram stories, or comment on our tweets by replying to them. So one student recommended that they would have told themselves to get a calendar and get organized because of how important it is to know what the deadlines are and what work's required. Although they did also add that it's really important to, as Tim said earlier, look out for your well-being by making sure you are still doing fun things and not just doing purely, well, work.
Yeah.
Um,
What view this live stream? You know, this is fun. Are we having fun yet?
yeah,
We are. We are. So, what are the best ways that students can contact us as well, Alex? Before I go to the browser.
So you can find us on. They can contact us in a few different ways. You can in the description of. Is it in the description of the live stream? No, I'll put it in the description at the end. So if you're watching this as a video, it'll be in the description of the live stream. You can contact us by emailing library@derby.ac.uk, and I'm just going to write that in the chat.
Yeah, and I'll show where the chat is as well, the library chat. So I'll switch to browser now. I'm going to use my very posh stream deck.
You can also contact us through social media on Instagram and Twitter through @DerbyUniLibrary, the same name as the channel that you're watching on, but without the space in between. I think it's between uni and library.
Yeah. So we're going to switch now to. Oh, this is boring. We need to think of something better, I think, Alex, here. But yeah, this is called a web page. And this is our skills guides. This is where our lib guides. This is where you will find lots of our information as a library, and you will also find. Oh, that's annoying. Can I get that? You can also find here the chat. So there's a green button here, and if you click on that, you can chat with someone in the library team, and that's a great way to ask questions at any given time. If the person answering the chat doesn't know the answer straight away, they will actually pass it on to someone who will know it, and you will get an answer as soon as possible. So that's a great way to get in touch with us as well. You can also contact us about skills queries there. We'll make sure that your chat gets sent to the right people in the library to answer. So this is the LibGuides, and I'm going to talk about this for a bit. I'm trying to find a way. I'm moving on my screen, so you might see it move a bit. I'm trying to find a way so I can get... Oh, that was bad. That was bad. So I can see Alex and do this. This is the joy of streaming from home, isn't it? You know, we would have had double screens and everything. Well, you do actually, but we would have had nicer setup for doing this. But I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to show you.
You don't need me to be in shop.
No, but I want to see your reaction. You know, it's nice to have human beings here. I think we'll change this scene at some point. Anyway, we have here the skills guides. And in the skills guides, we've got loads of information. And one of the things that we actually have is what we call a skills assessment sheet. And Alex, you're going to have to remind me where we actually put it on here.
So it's in the reflective writing skills guide.
Reflective writing.
That can help you develop those key skills that I talked about earlier.
Yes.
Or Tim and I talked about. And this can really help you reflect on how you are doing as a student, and also how you can improve your various skills.
Yes.
So it's in the
reflecting on your skills bit. Yeah.
Yep.
There we go. Oh, look at that! We've got a lovely sheet here. So we've developed this last year. We're looking to do something more with this, but at the moment, what it literally is a PDF. And I hope you see that as I change. I'm just checking on the stream whether it's come along with me. But this PDF, yes, that's it. This PDF is basically a really quick way for you to start thinking about your skills at university. And what we've done here, we wanted it to be a bit of fun. And you can do these if we ever have live activities and things in the future. You can come and find us and talk to us about these sheets as well. But the idea behind it is that you are able to find information about the things that you think you're weaker at or better at, and you can start developing some of those skills that you think you might need developing. So what we've done is we've used these emojis, and you can actually use emojis. These are just examples. You can use any sort of emoji that you would like, and you can give yourself a grade for each of these if you like. So you may find that you're probably really good at exams, but you hate presentations. So you would have a really happy smiley in the exams circle, if you like, and a really sad smiley in the presentations. And as you go along, you will we encourage you to think about each of these skills. So you will recognize that we've talked about these earlier in the stream, and what this is a way for you to start thinking, ooh, what am I good at, what am I not so good at. What we have here then is different keywords that relate to each of these topics. So if you're thinking that you're actually really good at presentations, delivering a presentation, that's great, but how good are you at planning and designing a presentation? So you can actually use these keywords on the back here to get a bit more understanding of, you know, what you need to improve and where you're good and where you're not so good. And then we've got this QR code, and that QR code literally links you to...
No data.
I'm reconnected now.
Yep, you appear to be back.
Oh, gosh, that was difficult. Okay, I knew that might happen, so apologies for that.
I'm just going to mute myself and listen to the audio.
Okay, you can then pick that up here, and you can start looking at, you know, what is understanding the question. Why is that important for academic writing? It's because you need to make sure that you pick up on the skills that you need to use to answer the question. So if someone says you need to critically analyze, that's a very different thing than comparing and contrasting the work of. So you need to start thinking about understanding the question. And as you will see when you go through these skills guides, there is so much information here that you can use for everything that you need to use it for. In fact, I'll just highlight this one as well. We're working very closely with the maths department in the engineering college. And is it engineering? Actually, I'm not sure. I shouldn't have said that. I might be wrong on that. But the maths department has something called the Maths Hub. And one of their goals is to help all students at the university to improve their confidence when it comes to maths. because we found that the biggest problem with maths is that people are afraid of it, don't like engaging with it, and that causes problems because maths are a crucial part of a lot of different careers, and maths are important. So what you will find here is our explanation of how you can use Elevate My Maths. And Elevate My Maths is a brilliant product. The University of Derby is the first university in the UK who work with this company called Fretta, and they have launched together with Ovidio Bagdasar, one of our lecturers in maths, or senior lecturer I think he is. Apologies Ovidio, but they've launched Elevate My Maths, and it's a really great way of getting to grips with your mathematics, and you can access it. You can see here how to access it, and you can just start doing maths without being worried about it. You won't actually get a grade for it at the end. You will just be doing maths, and even if you don't like it, do engage with it because it is important. I'm assuming, Alex, that we're still running fine. I can see it on my other screen. Yeah.
All is good, Tim.
Excellent. So another one that we'll touch on here, reflective writing. Like we said earlier on, reflection is such an important skill, and being able to write reflectively is really important. So do pick that up, have a read of all these things. You can also see on these guides that we've got books linked. So these are resources that you can borrow from the library. And you can see here that we have a Bibliu Study Skills ebook collection. And when you go to that, you have to log in with your number and your password, and you get free access for the entire time that you are a student at the university to a whole range of study skills books that, it's just great. You can actually, a lot of these are written by a lady called Stella Cottrell and colleagues from different universities who really understand how to write a skills book to make you a better student. And if you look here, this is someone who's actually related to the university, Garrett Hughes. He wrote a book called Be Well, Learn Well. Again, really nice because it talks about improving your well-being and how your well-being is linked to your academic performance. Really interesting, and all you have to do is to click on that once you've got into Bibliu. You can read it and own it. It's basically yours. So yeah, I think that's really worth pointing out.
So I guess that is our library resource spotlight of the week, is Bibliu and the skills guides.
Yes, it is indeed. Yes, I'm just catching up with our playbook again, but yeah, that's what I was aiming for.
So every week we are going to be showcasing one of our resources. So this week we've showcased our skills guide, a place where you can find lots of information and lots of resources that we've discussed earlier, and as well the Bibliu Study Skills ebook collection that Tim's just shown you there, which is really good for accessing skills ebooks whilst you're not at the library.
Yeah, I've just realised, Alex, I clicked the wrong button. And I shouldn't have clicked it. So there's a bit of audio went missing there, but Alex was just highlighting how important those resources are, and we will talk about that every week in our live stream. Shall we go to the next topic then?
I was going to say, so that brings us on to the next topic, which is called You Might Find It Useful to Know. So this is a topic chosen every week by the skills team ourselves, based on the questions that we think that students should be asking but aren't. That's because you might not know to ask this question. So this week we're going to be talking about getting organised, and Tim's going to be asking me a few questions about how I got organised. So Tim, go ahead.
Yes. Well, this is good, isn't it? I'm just in love with my little toy here. I can click a button and it changes the picture. It's wonderful. So I am going to talk to you, Alex, about how getting organised at the start of semester was important to you. And we touched on the fact that you're doing a master's now, so I'm actually going to start there, I think. Did you do anything different at the start of your master's than from what you did for the start of your undergrad year?
Yes, quite a lot of things that were different actually. So when I started my undergraduate year, I will be honest, I wasn't actually that organised. And now I feel like I'm fairly organised, if not quite organised. And when I started my undergraduate, a student actually told me about the fact on my first day that getting organised is really, really important. So I thought, actually, what can I do? well, after the first semester, I realised that I didn't actually have any proper folders. So now in my master's level, I have a folder for each subject, or even a few folders for some of the longer ones like business law. But I have a folder for each different subject. I have a full document storage on my computer in the sense that I have a hard drive which is also backed up with each different area that I'm studying, each different module, which is broken down into each different lecture. It has folders for assessment, and it means I'm more organized and know what anything is. Whereas in my first year, I actually really struggled with finding things. So I had things that were just basically not organized at all. I just had all the papers for each subject in a pile. And then when you realize you need a file and you need to go back and find something, that's not good if you don't really have an organizational system.
Mm.
Whereas now, if I need to find a file, I know where all of them are in an organized system that works for me.
So the I think one of the things that's important here, and I've just pulled it up. Mine looks very different. So if you see this and go, "Ooh, I don't actually know what this is," don't worry too much about it. I'm going to use my magic button. There we go. So this is what course resources looks like for me. And actually, your modules, they're already organized here, aren't they? You have got a lot of information in each of these modules on course resources, haven't you?
Yeah, and I would download the information that's in there and put it in my own folders on my computer and my hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
So I go through and download the lecture notes, the PowerPoints, anything related to my assignments, anything that I think I'll need, I download it
Yeah.
as and when I need it and as and when I go to use it.
Yeah.
But understanding Blackboard, I think, was really important. I think actually in my current doing a masters, I was far more organized because I knew how Blackboard worked, and that was really useful for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just highlighting that because I do think Blackboard is basically the way that our lecturers organize their modules. So that's where you will find the most important content and the most important information. And you will also find the library in there as well. So you can link to all our resources from Blackboard as well. Just going back to organizing, you're quite extensively using folders and things now. How would you describe the best way? Ooh, I love this question already. Yes. How would you describe the best way to work together as a group of students whilst being in the current situation that we're in? You know, we can't all sit around the table in the pub to discuss things anymore. So how do we go about that?
Well, I think it's all about being organized and finding a way to be organized as a group, which is, in my eyes, is finding a way of sharing files. So we have a wonderful app that students can use called Microsoft Teams that students can access through the Office 365 tile on Udemy. So Microsoft Teams has a file sharing function within it, which means you can share the files with the students on your course. When I was a student in my undergraduate level, I didn't have that, so I use different different ways of sharing documents. So I think I use OneDrive, I use Dropbox, anything like that to share documents.
Can
Getting
I?
organized within.
I'm going to interrupt you there for 1 second. I'm going to put my information scientist hat on here. And actually, there's a problem that I have encountered over the last year mainly. We have loads of different ways of sharing documents with each other. But actually, if you start using all these different tools, you start to lose track of what is where. I think we've experienced that ourselves on numerous occasions where you went, "Oh yeah, it's there and there in that folder," and I went, why is it not in this folder?" So one thing I would say with that is that with Office 365, and I almost sound like a bloody Microsoft sales rep at this point, but with Office 365, you can actually put everything onto OneDrive, and that is a really good resource, I think, for our students. Keep track of everything, but also to share documents with other people. So rather than sending it via all sorts of different tools, by email or whatever, you can all work from the same document in OneDrive, and that makes working together a lot easier, doesn't it?
And I'd agree with that. And also, as a place to store your documents, it means you don't have to own an external hard drive. I don't know exactly how much the allowances that you get in terms of how much you can store there, but it's quite a lot. And I've stored documents on there quite a bit as a student. because it actually means that you can use the same documents on your laptop. You can then go to a university PC and just open up those documents as they were.
Yeah.
And also if you have certain pictures in them and things like that, let's say you're making a video, using OneDrive means you can switch between devices and everything is still it still works, and it's really nice and really nice.
And there's generally, unfortunately, I still encounter this a lot. A lot of students rely on USB sticks. What's the biggest risk with USB sticks?
This happened to me before. You lose them, or you break them, or you drop them and they fall out your pocket and they land in water, or I don't know. They're very breakable. Even
they're
hard
mainly
drives,
very looseable. I think that's the key
that's
problem.
What I was gonna say. Losable, breakable.
Yeah. I once had when I worked at a different university, I had a student come to me, a PhD student, who was very, very irate and angry because we hadn't found his USB stick that he had been using in the library the day before. And upon investigating, it turned out that his entire research was on that USB stick and only on that USB stick. So he basically failed his PhD work because all his data was on one USB stick and he lost it, and he tried to blame the library for not finding it. It doesn't work like that. It's like Sue yelling at T. That's not the library's responsibility. So really important, I think, to highlight how important it is to use those tools that we've got online and storing things online.
And as I touched earlier upon actually using a backup, and backups are great if you constantly update them. Yeah. Because they can help you keep some of the files that you may have lost.
Yeah.
But that's only some. And that's if you actually back up things regularly. Because if I was to use a back my things every week, I could lose a week's work by just losing that USB stick. So I would recommend using online technologies like OneDrive. If you want to create a backup on your device, then go for it. But OneDrive and things like that are really good for keeping files safe, which is really important for university, and organized.
Yeah. I'm just reading your notes on this particular section, and there's something in there again that I think is quite controversial, and I will try and explain why it's controversial, because it's something that I've gone through during lockdown. So you've mentioned that it's useful to have your email on your phone.
Yes.
And I think this is a brilliant topic, so I'm going to go on a bit of a rant about this. I think it is useful if you're on the move a lot. So as an employee of the university, I before all the stuff that we're going through now, I used to work across different sites. I was always on the move, and I'd be on my phone all the time trying to catch up with my email, trying to catch up with what was going on. The first thing I did when we started working from home, when lockdown properly kicked in, was delete everything from my phone. You know why I did that, Alex?
Because you aren't moving, and it means that you are constantly at work.
Yes.
However, just to make a counter argument for why a student could have their email on the phone, because it is a controversial point, it actually means that you don't miss emails, which as a student, sometimes you will get emails with opportunities on them. And those opportunities that I found were quite often first come, first served. And if you have your emails on your phones, it means you don't miss any emails that come your way. It means you're up to date with what's going on. It means you don't have to constantly go onto your computer and check your email. At work, it's fine, because at work, I always have my email open in case anything comes in. I only expect emails between 9 and 5. That's fine.
Yeah.
However, as a student, you might get emails from other students at other times, but also you're not going to be always logged into your email. So having it on your phone means that you will see those emails as they come in. And I found that really, really useful for knowing what was going on, but also not missing opportunities.
Yeah.
It also means that you can reply quickly to an email if it's necessary. So if a lecturer, if you send an email to a lecturer, they emailed you back. If you can email them straight away, they may be more likely to reply to you, rather than if you make them wait till that evening and then they have to wait the next day. So it can speed things up quite a bit. So
there's a bit of a balance here, isn't there? And I think that's what we're talking about. Well-being is really important. It's becoming more and more. We're all becoming more aware of how important it is. And I think when it comes to being organized, and again, I'll allow you to give your opinion on this, Alex. I think now more than ever before, it's really important to have dedicated times to work. So I found in the beginning, particularly, I was constantly in my study that I am in now, and even though I was doing something else on the computer that I also work on, I'd still be checking on the work email, still be checking the Teams, and I really had to shut that down. I now actively close down all the programs for work at the time that I feel I've done enough for the day. Is that something that you could talk about from a student perspective, Alex?
Yes. So as a student, I always made sure that I had dedicated working times. I felt like I wanted to work a lot, so mine might be a bit different to other people's. Mine were 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So anything between those times, I would work, except for lunch and tea, but they would just happen as breaks. When I talk constantly about taking breaks. If you don't know about taking breaks, we've got a podcast on the channel about taking breaks. But I would always make sure after 9 p.m. I would always do something fun to end my day, and I go to bed at 10.
Yeah,
And in the morning, I'd always do something fun before I started work. Or what that meant is that I was able to have something for my well-being out there, and it meant I always had something to look forward to. I think my particular case study is a lot of work compared to what most students would do. I didn't always work every single hour of those days, 9 till 9, but I just made sure that I had planned time into my day at 9 p.m. and 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. in the morning that I would be doing something fun,
yeah,
as well as planning breaks throughout my day.
yeah. I'm just looking at the time, Alex. We've got a few more topics on. There's one on there that I really don't want to use. You know which one it is. I think what we should do is round off nicely. Because we've been doing this for 3/4 of an hour now. What do you think about that?
I agree. Would I be able to talk about what I think is the most important point about organisation? Which
Yes,
is
and then after that, hang on. After that, we are going to reflect on this test live on stream, because that's like Inception. Okay, you can start now. Yes.
So, speaking of Tim saying about reflecting, I think with organisation, the key thing is to try a variety of methods and to reflect on those methods over time. And I think that's the biggest thing with organisation. Try something new. Don't be afraid to try something different per semester or for an individual subject, and try and reflect on actually, is that working? Universities, like I said earlier, a very long time, especially if you're undergraduate level. It can be 3 years, it can be 4 years. That is time you've got to improve. And the way our university degree is structured is it allows you to learn as you go and develop, so that when you're in your third year, you can really be at your maximum performance level. So, for example, everything I've said, like the folder system, my use of a calendar, which I haven't talked about, my use of breaks and so on, everything I've done, I reflected on that per term. It wasn't perfect to start with. There was lots of issues, but I noticed that it had got better from what I started with at undergraduate level, which is basically no organisation at all. So I looked at what the problems were, and I thought, how can I improve that? I then tried an improvement, and at the end of the semester, I would reflect on, did that work? If you're studying at university for 3 years, you're doing 6 semesters, or potentially more if your course is a bit more advanced in terms of how much you have on. But generally, you've got 6 semesters. That's 4 opportunities to reflect before you start your final year, and then a fifth one during your final year to think about how you can properly optimize the way that you work. So, what I'd recommend with organization is trying different methods and reflect on them and find ways of optimizing those methods as you go on.
Yeah.
And find what works for you, because what I said works for me, it may not work for you, but
Yeah,
find
absolutely.
your subjective, individual way of working and optimize it over time.
Yeah. And actually, in relation to that, there's some a really exciting new thing starting soon, I believe, this year, with the peer-assisted learning scheme. So the Union of Students are about to launch. I think they've launched it. I'm not sure if it's already gone out. Sorry, has it gone out?
I believe they're launching it. It's been launched
Right.
in terms of offers for jobs.
Yeah. So the peer-assisted learning scheme is really useful, because you get an opportunity to learn from students who are a bit more experienced in your program area. So it's not some random student from a law degree or whatever. It's someone who's actually studying your course, your modules, and they will be able to help you out with like basic things that you need to know, giving you tips and tricks like what we've talked about today. but in general, just helping you get on and understanding what is expected of you. So I'm really excited about that, and we'll be working more closely with the union on that as well, and you will hear a lot more from us in that channel as well.
I'm also hoping on that front to add in a topic that is chosen by the pals from what they have found
In
with
these live
similar
streams.
workshops
Yeah,
they're talking about.
yeah, that will be really fun as well. Yeah. So I think let's reflect a bit on today
Yes.
because I think it's fun. You know, I always reflect on everything anyway, Alex. I'm a constant reflector, a reflectionist. What do you think?
I think this has gone okay. I think it's gone pretty well. I think one of the key things that I have learned throughout this stream is I can't actually see Tim, by the way, in live form. What I can see is I can see Tim 10 seconds behind. So
Yeah.
if you ever see me looking left, that's because I've been looking at past Tim. That's an issue in my eyes, in the sense
Yeah.
that actually I am one, not looking forward, I'm looking to the left where Tim is, but also I am reacting to past Tim and what the live stream is showing rather than what current Tim looks like.
Hmm.
And that's quite odd, to
I
be quite
don't
honest.
change that much shape in 10 seconds, though, Alex.
Yeah, but it's interesting because usually when we do these live streams, we are next to each other,
Yeah.
and what we've done in the past is we've been next to each other, and it's actually quite different not seeing Tim, or actually just seeing Tim in the past whilst doing a live stream with
Yeah.
him. And so it's a different way of communicating that. I think I'll have to find new ways of doing better with that. So I might organize my screen differently so I can see past him
Well,
whilst
the
looking
issue
forward.
now is that my. So this is part of the reflection as well, I suppose. I'm using a GoPro on an HDMI capture device that's linked to my PC that is then feeding into OBS. But because my GoPro is engaged with OBS, it won't engage with Zoom, which is where I've got Alex. So I'm being recorded directly from there, and Alex on the. Have I got this right? No, on that side, Alex is being recorded through Zoom. We've reflected on using Teams was a bit of a disaster. We were going to use Teams, and then I completely failed to install it. I think I fixed that now because I normally work on my iMac. But in terms of technical, I think it's actually going quite swimmingly.
Yes, technically, yes, it is.
Yeah,
I think from what I've looked at, we went down once, but not much we can necessarily
no.
do about that.
I clicked the wrong button once, which again, it happens, doesn't it? Yeah,
I've got no way of monitoring the audio without muting myself or then playing audio out loud. So
mm,
that's something that I think I want to improve,
yeah,
which may mean you may see me put headphones on. To be
yeah. I
honest,
might need headsets actually. Yeah. Then one of the other things that I'm reflecting on as I'm sitting here, and I keep looking at Alex, so just like Alex just explained that he's looking one way to see me, I'm just looking at Alex, and he's beyond my camera to my left. So I'm not looking at the camera a lot. And actually, I think the camera angle is a bit odd as well. It's sitting on a paper box, sort of in between my Mac and my PC, and it's not perfect. I'm gonna have to find a better solution for that because it looks a bit odd. And then the only other thing that I really want to try, and we will make an effort to do that for next stream. I want some more interaction. We've got quite a how do you call it? I don't want to call it a boring setup because I think it's quite attractive, this particular screen that we've got. But there's no spinny bits and there's no little videos and things like that to help us with this. So I think that we really could do with a bit of that, but we're already working on that behind the scenes. We're hopefully going to get that sorted in the next few weeks. So I think that is really important as well. So
nice.
yeah, I think that concludes our stream, Alex. What do you think? I think it went well.
I think it went well as well. I think actually running this stream, in my eyes, is easier than running a stream in person. Like when we did it in person with all the setup,
That's
having to set
because
the
you didn't have
cameras.
to run around like an idiot this morning trying to set it all up.
I think that's about the plan this morning and
Yeah.
set up some of the things. But I think actually it's easier once we've got the setup right, which is what it was when we first did the live stream, is
Yeah.
the setup was difficulty. But actually, setting up the camera isn't that difficult. And there are different challenges, but the challenges that we faced doing it in person, I thought were more difficult and we had less ability to show things on screen. The people who were presenting couldn't see what was on screen, for example. And I think we can do a higher quality thing with actually less people here now because
Hmm.
we needed 3 people in the past to do screen capture and stuff.
Yeah. At the same time, we do miss that sort of personal connection and that
Oh yeah,
interaction that we had with the live setting. So yeah,
I think it
it's
as well.
horses for courses, isn't it? In the end,
Yes,
yeah,
I think it would be easy for me and you to engage in a dialogue if we were sat next to each other than it is
yeah,
for me to see you 10 seconds ago. Because I also can't see your reactions, how you're reacting to what I'm saying,
yeah.
until 10 seconds have passed.
I usually gloss over. That was a
So
mean
usually
joke,
I can
wasn't
tell when
it?
Tim's saying I talk. Sorry.
Oh no, go
Usually,
on, go on, go on, go on.
usually I can tell when you're saying, "Okay, that's enough time. Stop. Come on, hurry up. Stop
Yeah,
talking."
yeah, yeah.
Now I see that 10 seconds too late.
Yeah, you don't get the cue in time.
No, because I can just see a
Yeah,
blank screen with in live terms.
yeah. I think it went well. I think we're gonna start putting them in the calendar for next week, and then we'll see where life takes us with this.
Yes, I
Yeah,
agree.
excellent.
See you all in the
Thanks
next
for
one.
watching. I'm going to switch with my clever button to the hold screen. Oh yes, and we will see you again. Thank you. Bye bye.